Good morning. Hey,
Hello.
hello. Hey, Gabby. I like your beard braid there, Crobe.
Thank you. It was very messy today, so I had to tame it.
Cool.
Very stylish.
Why, thank you.
hmm
Before we start now, I somehow got a talk accepted at Vancouver talking
cool.
about the mobilization plan.
Awesome.
And I would love to get your feedback on kind of talking about this group's efforts.
Sure.
Maybe just kind of give it a couple sentence summary, and then kind of talk about how you've been organizing and how we're moving forward to get the updates together.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I had to go bug Bressers and Sarah for S-bombs, and then
Cool.
find out who's working on the risk dashboard.
Awesome. And congrats on the talk acceptance.
Oh, thanks.
Yay.
Yay, more stuff to write. Like I'm waiting on this David Wheeler jerk to help me with our presentation.
Yeah, I can't tell you enough bad things about him.
He's the worst.
He's the worst.
Always in meetings.
Oh, pot. Let's talk, Mr.
Right. Yes. We both have an addiction, Mr. Wheeler. We should go to therapy.
Is this our group therapy session?
It's a memory safe space.
I don't...
Oh,
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah. Thank you, whoever just put that sound thing.
all right. Clearly, I am in front of the master.
All right. I'm going to give people you got a thumbs down. We're going to give people just a little longer.
I'll accept that from
join.
Jay because I love Jay.
You know what? We usually keep notes in a Google Doc, but I don't see one in this case.
Oh, we've got it right here. I will share it with you. Oh, not that one. Let's share this link. Cool. It wasn't anything terrible, just not the link I wanted to.
Not the one you wanted. Okay.
Yeah. All right. And I'd love if someone could maybe fix the permissions on the doc so it's not showing up as suggestions every time I add something or other people add stuff.
Okay.
I mean, it's not terrible. But...
Well, I can actually do that for you.
Okay, cool.
So let me make sure that I get. Let's see now. All right. Yeah. Are you using your @Microsoft.com address?
Correct.
Okay. Let's. All right. You are now fully empowered.
Awesome.
However, from bitter experience, click on reload of the tab.
Oh yeah, it's a good idea.
Your access. I mean, it's a quirk of Google Docs, but
yep.
And that's one time. Now, once you've done that, it will. You are now.
Gotcha. Looks like we're good now. Awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I did the easy thing. Oops.
Cool. And I'll give it one more minute and then we'll get started.
Okay.
Bro, for the longest time, I thought the way you pronounced your handle was C-Rob. So I refer to C Rob like internally at Microsoft and such, and people would have no idea who I was talking about. C Rob who? Who's Rob?
While not preferred, that is acceptable.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I used to have, I've had this nickname forever. So I used to be able to tell where people knew me from by how they pronounced
Ah,
it. So I had a boss that mispronounced it and called me C Rob everywhere. So every time I knew somebody, I knew them through Mary Rose.
awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And it looks like everyone is returning. So I don't think we need to do introductions in this case, but hello, everyone. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for taking some time out of your morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I see people have filled out the attendees on the agenda. Thank you. And let's go ahead and start off with Avishai very, very helpfully created a pull request to our shiny new GitHub repo, which is adding in some docs, some skeleton things. Thank you to Jay for in our first few meetings getting us to form our vision, goal, scope, etc. I imagine that's making this much easier. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Pull request is ready for review. One thing you would notice is that I kept the co-lead empty for now. I thought we can discuss it here with the community to decide who that would be.
That sounds like a great idea.
That said, I think that's important to fill in ASAP because having a lead to talk to get things moving is really, really important. Those leads are not trapped forever. They can leave.
They can, yes.
But
They
yeah, so
yeah,
I'm assuming that Nell, you are at least one of those leads.
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay. Can we all shake our heads on that? Okay.
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 Thank you. I'm thinking of the little bobbing dogs that you can have on your dashboard that just go bop, bop, bop. That's awesome. Now I realize I need to get a set of those on my desk. And
we do support the concept of a co-lead if that is
Yeah.
desired by you and the group, or really it's the group and somebody has to agree to say yes.
That is desired. Avishai has volunteered. I second that in part because Avishai has deep experience with the developer best practices working group. I have experience within the OpenSSF, but outside of that working group. So it'd be good to have that knowledge and that connection.
Okay, so I'm going to mark this down here. SIG leadership. I'm going to, let's see, and I'm going to try to make sure I type in your name correctly.
Does anyone else want to be considered for co-lead? Okay. Okay. I'm laughing at Krob's rapid shaking of the head there.
I have more than enough paperwork to do. Thank you.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, does that need to be decided here? Sorry, I'm not a volunteer, but
No, it's okay. I mean, it'd be good. It'd be good to decide it now, I think.
Yes, I think that's important. Once you have a process and leaders and a process to make decisions, you can change to other approaches. All right.
I'll update the pull request accordingly.
Okay, that'd be great. I presume you mean Abhishek Arya from Google?
No, also Microsoft.
Avishai.
Avishai, not Abhishek.
I am very sorry. Avishai. Okay, let's try that again. A-V-I.
And Avishai works for Microsoft.
Okay.
Another important reason to get this done is I can go poke Jordan to get the GitHub permissions set up correctly. Because right now, like, I can't commit.
Right. Would you mind for at least the two of you, what is your GitHub?
I will type it in right now.
That'd be great. And same for you, Avishai, because basically that's how we're going to handle the GitHub permissions. We would like to make sure we get the right ones.
Cool. And I'll give people a moment to review that pull request. I'm just wondering if there's anything we should discuss now.
Okay. Related to that, since that's our group decision there, I think I need to at least notify operations, because
Understood.
basically we just want to make sure that that people know that this is how we're starting and all that good stuff. So I will do that.
Typically what I do, David, is once it's in the README for the SIG or working group, then
Uh-huh.
I'll pass that over and say, this is the authorized group, make these people, give them the commit and merge bits.
Okay. Okay, very good. I think I should give a heads up just to but that's great. That sounds awesome.
Hey man, you can send an email just as easily as I can.
Right. Cool. Anything else to discuss on the GitHub repo? All right. Moving on, thank you everyone who added comments, etc., to the current language of Stream 4. I just put a link to the Google Doc in the chat here. That was very, very helpful. And let's talk, I think, through some of the comments and some of the suggestions. So first, I see one from Gabby regarding needing to acknowledge that these languages are under constant evolution. I'm assuming that's referring to C and C++.
And which other languages that, none of them are static.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, they are evolving.
Are we referring to the memory safe or the memory unsafe?
Memory unsafe. But I'm assuming it's safe too.
Yeah, I mean, just languages that are used are evolving seems like a very safe statement to make.
Yeah, I guess my, the point I was trying to make here is that, so we usually build software by picking up a version, and then writing with that. And then a couple of years later, a decade later, we learned a bunch of stuff, things have evolved. So the best practices that we use, let's say a decade earlier, may not be the best practices that came after. So I think we need to be a little bit more nuanced in our statement. Otherwise, they look very categorical and not a function of, time.
Right. I think that is a very reasonable thing to add. Any other thoughts on that comment specifically? All right, moving forward. I do think this is a good thing. Gabby suggested first define memory safe languages in a standalone sentence, follow that up with examples and counterexamples. So let's discuss the definition of a memory safe language. I personally often think of them as memory safe by default or unsafe by default. I think there's two meta categories in there. How would some members of the group define a memory safe language?
I don't have a precise definition, but I do like the distinction by default.
Right.
I think that's part of the problems that we're having. Right. So I don't know if we can. So all these things are kind of related. Can we talk about memory safety without talking about type safety and
right
and so forth? So I tend to have those two things related. So if we purely talking about the very safety, so we know about unsafety when things go wrong. It is harder to say when things are going right? So like when you have use after free, clearly that's very unsafe, right?
I would suggest while the converse is correct, I think that the C community may take umbrage if we just wholeheartedly declare them an unsafe language. So I think we should just be careful with the converse.
Of course.
But I like the positive very much. I think that's great to say, by default. And then there are others that have different qualities.
Mm-hmm.
A memory safe language, it has the following properties, and I'm assuming somewhere there's somebody's worked this out and has a definition. And I would always be careful to say memory safe, not just safe. I know it's easier to say, but I mean, frankly, the list of memory unsafe languages, I would say most languages are memory safe. Examples of memory unsafe languages, of languages that are not memory safe. Don't want to say memory unsafe. I mean, it's basically C, C++, fourth assembler, and I think, is it Vala? The list is short, and you get increasingly obscure. Vala and Objective-C.
Oh, go ahead.
They're both C variants. Yes.
Gotcha.
Project this group may be familiar with does have a definition at the top of their webpage. I put a link in the chat.
Yep.
So we may just want to cite that.
Yes, I think that's, unless there's
instead
a problem.
of rewriting it ourselves.
IEEE
Spectrum and IEEE Spectrum article. There's also a definition. I'll put that here.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my next one I was going to click on.
Cool. Let's put that in.
If I can get it in there.
And while we're at it, I'm just realizing I did not ask for a volunteer to take notes.
Oh.
Though that might be copying and pasting the links that are in chat and the definitions that people are putting in chat to preserve it.
Yeah. So is it here? I actually like the link, but I'm not seeing that important distinction that Dale made earlier, which is default versus non-default. I think we have to find a way to factor that in.
Yeah, I'd be fine with us adding by default to the definition we're using for this document.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. Whoever was about to speak.
I'm just having the damnedest time copy and pasting link or text.
Oh, freaking Zoom. Oh, it makes it impossible to copy and paste things out of it, at least as far as I've concerned. So people who've put in links, if you could put them in the meeting notes, I'm gonna put another link to that.
Okay, you know what? I don't know why, but I seem to be able to. Apparently I have.
Maybe it's a host power?
I guess.
Okay. Zoom is a mystery.
Zoom is a mystery. All right.
So I'll stick it here in the notes.
Okay.
If it'll let me stick it in the notes.
Go right ahead.
I already did, or at least the one I saw. Yeah, I've been making notes as we go. By the way, sorry.
Oh, thank you. It's all good.
No doubt I missed something important, but I'm trying.
Oh, no worries. I think I hadn't refreshed, or the page hadn't refreshed for me yet, the doc, and so I hadn't seen the things you've been adding to it, but I see them now. So cool.
Okay, so let's look at this definition. Memory safety is a property. More secure is a little more dicey because it's, but I understand the goal. I mean, I would copy at least the first part. although it's very vague. You know,
So we could cite the example and then put a qualifying sentence afterwards. We feel
Right.
memory safe languages have these features enabled by default.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be useful. It's something I hear a lot within Microsoft and outside of Microsoft is how can you say Rust is memory safe when you can do unsafe blocks? Which larger discussion we're not going to have here, but yeah, I think it would be helpful to have that in part because I know people who read the stock, regardless of what language background they're from, I don't want them to be immediately turned off by the definition that we use.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure, for
Crow, do you
example,
have, so it's the problem is on my side. Does anyone else have access? Well, it's spectrum.ieee.org, memory safe programming languages. And there's an article that comes up, and they'll have what they have a definition for there. It's on my side. I'm not able to copy paste, Control C
Oh,
or
weird.
Control any of that.
wait, you
Yeah, I
can't
probably have
copy.
to.
You can't copy into the chat. Now that's
I can't copy into the chat. I can't copy into the doc. It's on my side. I probably need to like restart or something. Too many tabs open for too long.
well. How's this? If
I'm
you
on
look
it.
at just the memory safety sig, just reload that one page. I think you should be fine to just start editing the doc. You do have edit rights to this.
And I pasted the IEEE statement in the
Oh.
chat.
Perfect.
We can see if we
Yeah, it won't let me do it anywhere else. Like in any other doc I have open, and it wouldn't let me open up another Word doc and copy paste nothing. So
Okay. Yeah, your computer's
Oh.
freaking out. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
well, either that or, to be honest, that sounds like you've got a limitation. Your organization is forbidding it.
Oh no, I'm on my I do all this stuff on my personal, so that way I can, if I have double meetings, I go work laptop and personal laptop. So this is
Yeah.
all on my personal laptop.
But-
Surprisingly enough, I'm at 97% memory usage. I just
Okay. You need a reboot.
Very safe.
Exactly.
No,
Okay, cool. Well, it looks like that Avishai put that in the Google Doc, the IEEE definition. Thank you very much, Avishai. So yeah, memory safety.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
That seems like a reasonable definition as well.
Okay.
And just a brief tangent quickly. You mentioned that we don't want readers of the document to become inadvertently offended. David and I had the opportunity to brief CISA on the foundation activities yesterday, and they were super interested in this little team.
Hell yeah.
So I think we'll get lots of external eyes once this gets rolling.
Well, if Jen Easterly wants to come to one of our meetings, she is most welcome. All right, cool.
All right.
So, what do people think of the IEEE definition? I'll paste that into Zoom chat as well.
Okay.
Oh, that's already
Safety
there.
is a feature of programming languages. All right. Where's the IEEE definition coming from? Got a URL for me?
Yeah. I get that second.
Citation. Awesome.
I got it. Cool.
Thank you.
All right.
You want it in the Google Docs?
Yeah, and there are edge cases too. I mean, obviously, there's the you declared as unsafe as one. I actually have done a lot of work with Ada. Ada's free actually doesn't guarantee safety either. It's explicitly marked as unsafe, but you're less likely to use it. So it's more like the unsafe marker in Rust. So
Correct.
Yeah, that's why I like the by default. Now it might sound like just two little word, but I think it's very important in the conversation and how we convey the ideas that we're trying, the problem that we're trying to solve to people.
Question for you, Gabby, with regard to C++. So I know there's a specification that allows use of C, or when you use that use of C++ is more memory safe at the very least. Could you tell us just a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So you have the full standard, and you have the C++ core guidelines, which is a set of rules that talks to a smaller subset of the language, assisted with tools to enforce these rules. And when you use those, then you actually reduce significantly the instances of memory unsafety. So there is no new malloc, or new delete. Explicit memory management, you have to use helper type like spark pointers, unique pointers, shared pointers that have well-defined protocols. And you have to use the standard guideline support library, which guard against out-of-bound memory. You don't have use after free, those sort of stuff. Gotcha. So so you have the rule. The implementation is varies. You have some in the Visual C++ product. You have some in Clang Tidy, but what they do is they do restrict you to a subset.
So when you're using those rules or restriction, would that fit either the definitions of memory safe?
Yeah. Then they will fit exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so when I say C++ as usually used, because obviously you can make a subset of anything and the rules changed.
Yeah, so these are not, so usually when people think of subset, including myself, is you have the ISO standard, and then you can only use these sort of things like MISRA, for example, do that, like very constrained subsets. What the core guidelines have done is that they say, well, this library, GSL, a guideline support library, it is very special. It's going to provide you with some basic abstractions that you need to use. And that library has the exception of using these forbidden constructs, right? So it is not a strict subset if you look only at the compiler, but it is a subset when you look at it from programming perspective. Like, I'm just a ordinary dev. I'm not allowed to use new delete. I can only use unique pointer, make shared, or make unique. But as a library implementer of the GSL, I have full access to all those facilities. Then now comes in the tool, the checkers, that comes like, okay, you're GSL, you got these special rules. Everybody else, you go through these regimens. And so it is not your usual bland subset.
Understood. Cool. All right. I lost my tab. There it is. So it sounds like we can, maybe asynchronously do some wordsmithing on having that definition of what we're talking about when we talk about a memory safe language.
Yeah. I will definitely work on something since there is the comment.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
So in terms of logistics, do I send a pull request, or do I use the mailing list or the chat? I would like to have some draft and early feedback, but not random Joe on the internet interfering with.
I understand. Yeah, we're not going to ask you to put it on Twitter. So, I mean, in the Slack channel works well for me, but I'm open to other opinions as well. Go ahead, Crow.
While we're in this beginning phase where there's going to be a lot of dynamic changes, typically working groups and SIGs use Google Docs, but at some point we do want to get this pushed into Git as a markdown file, and then we would follow the PR and review process there. That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
But yeah, today when there's like 5 people doing edits on the document, that gets challenging with PRs.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to clarify, by the way, that the IEEE definition, I mean, it's not a formal IEEE definition. It's just, it's an article published by IEEE, which isn't the same thing.
Gotcha.
I agree. So I think these two definitions sounds reasonable to me,
Mhm.
and I'll try to formulate someone based on these sources and submit to the group for feedback.
Cool. All right.
All right,
Moving.
who
Go
is
ahead.
that? So GDR, you're the one who agreed to do that. So thank you.
Cool. All right. So I see Art Mannion added an additional link regarding what science can tell us about C and C++ security. Oh, okay. I have not read this yet, but I'll definitely give this a read.
I think Art and I both went into the document today at the same time and edited the part that was also mentioned in the Slack channel, that the stats were relevant only to software built with unsafe code, right? So it's not 70%
Right.
of all vulnerabilities, but it's 70% of vulnerabilities in memory unsafe languages. And the same edit was done for Android and later for Google Project Zero.
I think that's a very important distinction to have. So thank you for adding that.
Thank you.
Looks good.
All right. I just added that note about that we need to do that. I guess that sounds like a different work item. Define, explain why it matters.
Yep.
Presumably primarily just pointing off to other work. I'm a big believer in not doing things that aren't necessary.
All right. And then going down the comments, there's a comment from me on the under proposed approach. We know how to entirely rid ourselves of memory safety vulnerabilities, just that language is too strong. And I do feel that's misleading. We can we can rid ourselves of known memory safety vulnerabilities, but I'm wary of giving people a false sense of security that this will be eliminated for all time. So I can take an action item to propose a different language in there. All right, continuing through. All right, and Gabby had a comment on challenging the goal, improve the state of memory safety issues in existing and future software, not advocacy of specific language. I do think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I was looking at the chatter, and like what we really want to do is make sure that we remove or significantly reduce memory on safety issues in software that we use. And for me, I think that would be a goal that we can push forward and invite more, brain powers to help us achieve that goal down. If we just went in from programming language advocacy perspective. Doesn't mean we don't talk about, hey, we don't talk shit about C or C++. Just means that the goal really is to reduce memory safety vulnerabilities.
Yeah, let's stop shooting ourselves in the foot with the same gun over and over and over again. That's probably a terrible summary. I think that is a terrible summary of the goal here, but that's where mine goes.
I don't think that's so terrible. I mean, people often refer to these as foot guns, and there's the old joke about when you shoot, C++, you shoot your whole leg off. So
yep. I think the inventor of C++ actually made that joke first time.
Yep.
Any other thoughts on this this section or this particular comment in the doc? All right, moving forward. So Yep, I added in for large and legacy code bases not able to move away. There are tools and specifications which improve memory safety, even if it's not the default for those languages.
Yep.
And potentially a work product of this group could be guidance or pointers to good practice to do that.
Yes. Hence why developer best practices working group was such a good fit. Yeah, I like the approach of, product of this group being something along the lines of, let us help you. I never like the approach of, some loud people have around security vulnerabilities of, well, if you have these vulnerabilities, you're stupid, and why don't you just do X and X and X? No, it's we all are facing these problems. Let us help you get to a better place. It doesn't have to be this painful.
I like that.
All right. Cool. And all right. I see, Gabby, you had a comment on the move the internet's most critical software away from unsafe languages.
Yeah. So when I read that, what comes to mind first is either rewrite or replace with something else. And, it become, cost risk analysis, like move to what?
Mm-hmm.
Something we haven't actually tested yet. And so is there an assumption that we can't actually do any improvements to the existing code? Like, let's say something is written in C. We know C by default or C++ lets you write mistakes, things that cost billions of dollars. Are we making an assumption that there is no way we can deploy any realistic technique to those tools to bring them to a place where we don't have those concerns anymore? That could very well be the case, but I think we need to spell those assumptions explicitly so we can discuss them and say, well, given the evidence, here is our conclusion. This is why we're doing this.
I like that approach, Gabby. That gives us maximum flexibility. We're not trying to impose something on developers. It gives choices and options is what we'd like to do, and education on, a path to goodness.
Can the work that is being done at the hardening guide be relevant to this effort?
Oh yeah, definitely. That would be, I'll think of it as mitigation, but maybe David has a better way to characterize that.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, if there's help, by all means interact. I do think that if you're thinking of the C and C++ compiler options work, right? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I in my mind, I mean, both are broadly trying to improve security. I do think there's a difference. Nobody believes that the compiler options are going to suddenly prevent memory safety problems. Oh, I know, Crow, you're so shocked. But I view these as both reasonable approaches. We are not going to rewrite trillions of dollars worth of C and C++ today. Tomorrow is not looking good either. So we are going to have to find ways to improve where there is existing C and where people choose for reasons. Yeah. and where people choose to create new. And we want to encourage people so that they don't have to use a memory unsafe language. I don't know if this is a good time, but I actually have had some very interesting conversations with the Linux kernel folks about their integrations with Rust. I don't know if this is a good time for that, but this is a great.
I have no objections to that. We're almost at the end of the document. This document was shorter than I remembered. So I'm very, very curious, David.
Okay. Oh, and once I said I was going to reveal something, Matt showed up. Hi, Matt. Yeah. Welcome.
What?
Well, we were about to switch subjects, and I saw your image pop up, and I I couldn't resist. So
Thanks, Gabe.
oh,
Great.
you're welcome. In all seriousness, I do welcome you. It's just, it was funny that we were about to switch topic and you appeared. So yeah, so we've been doing several kind of, getting started things with this SIG. In fact, I'm about to send an email to our operations team, and we're getting the repo set up. We want to define our terms and why. And I think we're through that. So I mentioned that there's some interesting things to be learned about memory safety from the Linux kernel work. So I don't think it'll take me too long, but I think everybody here knows that the Linux kernel folks are taking steps to integrate Rust so that Rust can be used for writing drivers in the Linux kernel. Now, quick expectation set. Right now, there's no expectation of rewriting all of the Linux kernel. It's rewriting the drivers. However, drivers are a huge proportion of a kernel, and in many ways, they're the most problematic because most drivers are, a driver only works for particular hardware typically, and therefore they don't get the level of review because most other people don't have that device. They can't necessarily help. So focusing on the drivers seemed like let's focus on where the biggest pain points are. All right. Some interesting lessons that have been learned. First of all, Rust has this annoying property of requiring that certain things be true to make easy calls. In particular, if you provide something that's read only, Rust is much happier. As soon as you have to read and write it, you have to make sure it's okay to read and write, which is actually always true regardless of the programming language, but Rust enforces this at compile time. What this right. So what this has led to is an interesting thing that's happening within the internal C interfaces of Linux. What we're finding is that there's an increasing move towards C interfaces of read-only values. Now, from a C perspective, syntactically, it doesn't matter. But unsurprisingly, when a C function, and they're always, if it's callable in C, it's called a function. A C function that only gets stuff that can read but can't write, that does eliminate some problems right away. There's also so Rust is having an effect, I think, that's long-term positive, even on the code that's just straight C. The other interesting thing is I think this has lit a fire under folks to reduce the likelihood of memory safety problems within the C portions. So there's been a very painful long-term effort to change how structs are handled, to eliminate a lot of memory safety issues. There's going to be a presentation at OSS North America this year, where they'll talk, and also the Linux Security Summit, specifically at the Linux Security Summit. Full disclosure, I'm on the program committee, but we're basically, and I can go into details of what this is, but basically they're changing the way they use struts. I got to pronounce it correctly, to eliminate some challenges. The good news is it's going to eliminate some memory problems, and the bad news is it's a lot of work to get there. And I think in their, I think in many ways they're inspired by we need in general to cut down memory safety problems. One approach is Rust in some portions, and the other is changing how we do C.
I like that story, and I guess that goes into the other comment I was trying to make, which is we get best practices that evolve over time, and having Rust go into that ecosystem, people get exposed to new ideas. Like, by just changing how we clean our dishes, we can avoid all these other diseases. So it evolves the best practices.
Right. Of course. I mean, to be fair, just changing is, there's a whole lot of work hidden behind that word.
Yeah. But Well, I see programmers now, a lot of work, and we say, well, I don't want to do the work. What can I do? Oh, I can write a tool to do the work for me, right? And that has that, positive effect.
Right. Well, in this particular case, it really is a combination of tooling, but also lots of careful code changes, enabling compiler options, doing other things. But I don't want to steal the thunder too much. If you want to see all the details, come to the Linux Security Summit. But and we will record those for others. But there is a good story on both sides, because everybody agrees memory safety problems bad, and a great way to do it is using languages where this can't happen by default. In cases where that, for whatever reason, that is not chosen to be done, then we take other steps. I think Crow was first, and then Matt.
Correct.
I've said my piece.
Since we're so close to the end of the doc, I looked ahead. We may want to consider, as part of this proposal, to add in notes for like evangelism, education, and awareness, because we know we're not going to get everybody to convert to a memory safe language. We know not everybody's going to use a tool, but as Gabby mentioned, but just by observing how these other methods work, it's informing other behavior. So again, if we can get have some tasks in the plan to say we want to devote time on a training class as part of the education SIG, or we want to go to conferences, developer conferences, and talk about this topic, just to kind of raise awareness and evangelism to help move the ball forward. I think that would be a useful add to the plan.
That makes a lot of sense. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, I just want to point out, trying to channel the days when I wrote device drivers. That there's a proliferation of typically what they're called SDKs for a given space. So I think that creating best practices or trying to address that in terms of SDKs for different things like scanners or whatever disk things. And oftentimes you can work with companies like Intel or others who, so like the architectural level things, they produce SDKs for different things that fit their architectures. That's a good economy of scale way of working with things. So yeah.
Cool. Oh, good discussion and good examples. And let's see, there's just a couple more comments. I see another one on safe, declaring whether it means safe or memory safe. It's misleading to say safe languages when we're talking about a specific subset of safety. I think that's reasonable and definitely something we can spell out. And okay, and then just one about saying C and C++, not C/C++, which happy to respect, and thank you for adding that perspective. Abhishek, did you just raise your hand?
I guess I was trying to channel sorry for interrupting,
Okay.
but I was like, I know that the best practices team, which Crow can speak more aptly than I can, that there's a lot of guys being written on C++. I think there's overlap as well there. So maybe
absolutely.
So
Abhishek, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the plan, as it is written now, only responds to how it was originally written. However, I see that both Ned and I added 2 more potential goals, right? Used to have 2, but now there's 3 and 4. Do we want to maybe go over this? And then that will maybe expand to what Crow was looking for.
Sorry, under goals, are you?
The work we plan to do to reduce the number of memory safety vulnerabilities.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
I think that's worth brainstorming on, definitely. Just checking time. Okay, we're about 10 minutes. Yeah, I hadn't even because I felt like the costs in timeline and such were very off now, because we're about a year out from when this plan was originally proposed. But yeah, I think that's a good idea to discuss the goals of this working group. So is there anything else on the document other than that we should discuss before we move on to goals?
I put a stylistic comment towards the top. The English major in me is flummoxed by the word memory space safety languages.
It should be memory safe. Yep.
Dash. I would prefer a dash. I think we should just agree and then make sure it's consistent throughout, because memory dash safe languages is an adjective. It modifies the noun.
That is true.
college worked out for once.
I was an
Yay.
English minor. It's all good. Cool. That's a good point. David, if you're talking to us, you're muted.
I think this is the usual challenge, because I think memory is actually modifying safe, and safe is the
It's a memory safe language.
Yes.
All right. Cool. All right. So goals of this working group. Let's start discussing, tangible things. Let's start discussing that.
I would say, I think you have a good list. Let's talk about the list first and see what we're missing. There's 4 items on there for the first year. Rust TLS, the FFI, some grants. 3 items.
I was actually referring to the 1, move the internet most critical software, 2, investment in tools, 3, invest in tools that improve memory safety, and 4, invest in educating software engineers.
Okay. So up a little bit under our proposed approach.
Yeah, exactly. That's the. So I'll just speak to the point that
Go
I
ahead.
added. I was referring to CISA's director Easterly's talk, where she mentioned that a large part of how to influence the industry is by educating, right, about memory safety and about security as a fundamental part of software engineering as a general. I thought that could be a thing that our working group SIG can also align to. And I think it scales well, as Gabriel also noted.
Agreed. And the one I added was invest in tools that improve memory safety when migration is not possible. Looking at the first one, which we discussed, move the internet's most critical software away from unsafe languages. Yep. I'm wondering if there's a way we can reword that. That can also be something that we think about and come back to.
Yeah, if I had something I could do real time, I've already just a suggestion, but this is more.
Are there any goals we should consider adding? Krobe, you're muted. You're still muted. There we go.
All right. We should give an action item to the education SIG to create or augment the coursework. We have a secure development fundamentals class. Maybe we add a module there, or we do conference talk. I think we can partner with them to create some education material, and that should be an action item. It's very low cost.
Cool.
Yeah, we do have an existing course on developing secure software, and it already specifically recommends using memory safe languages.
But maybe there's additional, we can augment it, or maybe there needs to be a webinar. Who knows? But I think we should bob an action item over there to partner with.
That makes sense. Any other goals we should consider adding? We will definitely be continuing this conversation asynchronously between now and the next meeting in 2 weeks.
I liked what Gabby suggested around talking about like techniques and tools to constrain the use of the unsafe languages today. That way, it's kind of a mitigation, an alternate control. But if somebody can't convert or won't convert, it at least gives them options. I think that should be something we should work on.
Cool. Would that fall under the invest in tools that improve?
Possibly.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if tools exist, but maybe it's just kind of pointing out to people, hey, you should, if you're doing this, use this.
Right.
Should we align with a scorecard about that as well? We have a call with them.
Yeah, we could easily kind of see if there's any checks we could put into scorecard.
Exactly.
And have it showed there. That'd be a very actionable result, low cost.
I don't know about scorecard, but certainly dashboard. They are already planning to capture the languages and warning which ones are memory safe, are memory unsafe languages. So, obviously, if you're writing in C and you're trying to get a C library, that's what you're expecting, but that's not always what you're expecting.
Would we want to outreach to the both the dashboard and scorecard?
Yeah, I think that would be a very useful thing to do.
Yeah, outreach to dashboard. There's Jay right there. I mean, you got demand.
All right. So I guess our outreach to dashboard is Jay. Who wants to own us setting up and maintaining connections with a scorecard?
We have a meeting with them coming up
Okay.
in 10 minutes. So
Oh, perfect.
I
That'll
can know
work.
that.
Thank you, Avishai.
And I'm also often involved, but I've got a conflict in a couple minutes for this time. So
Understood.
The next dashboard meeting is on the 21st. If you want, you can add an agenda item there as well. We have I think it's Berturgia or MITRE coming to talk with the dashboard around hip check. So that coming on the 21st, and then we can also add memory safety to come and talk on 21st as well. So have both of those to talk. Provide at least 20 minutes to each. We can do that.
Okay. I can talk at the scorecard meeting, but I'm also open to someone else doing it as well.
Yeah, the scorecard meeting is in like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Or
so
dashboard, whichever the one is on the 21st. Yep.
I run the dashboard meeting. That's my I run it. So shrug. I mean, but from a technical standpoint, you guys are more technically inclined here than I am. I can simply say, hey, we did a whole bunch of work and here's a doc. You guys can actually add some flavor to the meeting about it and all that. Well, you know what? Raul is here too. What am I? Raul is here too. Hey,
True.
Raul.
I think Raul said he was driving, so he was listening, but so are either or Jay or Raul, I understand you might not be able to answer. Are you comfortable leading the discussion in the meeting on the 21st? I'm not even going to try and at the moment keep track of which one is which, but on the meeting on the 21st.
I believe Raul can.
Yeah, and I will be there, and I'd be happy to lead that also.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and then if we can maybe in the Slack channel or something get a report back on or a link to the meeting minutes, that would be quite helpful. Matt, you just unmuted, so I'm wondering if you have something to say.
I have people involved in scorecard.
Oh, cool.
And I met with the team when I talked about through the design they were doing for probes that are coming up in scorecard. So my concern to my team is that we're adding greater granularity. So we have checks already, but they're going to be subdivided into lists of probes. And how do we get better dashboard readouts for these things? So my concern is that you go to a metrics dashboard and basically, oh, you see, you're red. So how do we get better granularity is my concern. And my admonition to them in the metrics dashboard is to have some type of thing on the dashboard that says you're running this many probes and you pass 10 of 12 probes type of thing, so you can drill into it. So that's what I'm trying to get my team to volunteer development for as they find time. But I think we need to work towards guidance on like beyond saying, oh, you see, you fail.
Right, exactly.
What better things can we run to say within a spectrum, or you're yellow or getting better, or you've done as best you can using C type of thing. Yeah.
Let's go to Krobe, and then we're just about at time. But go ahead, Krobe.
This very sticky button today. Are we aware, or would it be a task to potentially identify resources to convert developers to these memory safe languages? So are we aware of resources for coding in Rust or Java or these other safer languages? And maybe that would be a step for us, is to find those resources and highlight them to the community as well as another alternative.
There's a lot of material on learning Rust. There's not a ton on converting from one language to Rust. There's some stuff, there's more stuff coming out with interfacing between the two, which I think is one of the key parts. Well, we are at time, so thank you, everyone. This was a great meeting, extremely good discussion, extremely productive. We'll be continuing these discussions in the Slack channel, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care.
bye.
Bye.